In a space as ever changing as the underground is right now, it's kind of refreshing to see an artist who can kind of evolve and adapt and change their sound as they progress in their career. Someone like Che, for example. Che has started out in like 2020 with a completely drastically different sound than the sound that he's using right now, with the new snippets and the leaks coming out for Encore, which should be dropping soon-ish, maybe? I don't even know. But Che is like the prime example of someone who's able to change and evolve over time with the industry that they're a part of. In any industry revolving around art and creativity, having people in that industry who can develop themselves and develop their music as the industry progresses and as the industry grows, that's always what you want. That's like the prime thing you want to see in those industries, and Che is a great example of that. Each project that Che's dropped has garnered its own different fan base, and most of the discourse you'll see in Che's community is people arguing which album is better than the other ones. You have a whole fan base of people who think Rest in Bass is the best thing that I ever dropped, and on the other side you have a whole bunch of niggas that think Kruger is the best thing I ever dropped, and in the between you have people that think Closed Captions and Say So Says the best thing that he dropped, and then you have other people that think the EPs are the best things he's dropped. So like Post for the Pick, Green Day, Love, and then you had the other EPs he dropped like Miley Cyrus, Pizza Time, Tony Bay, all those EPs. And Che's community definitely is a very polarizing community. It's very polarized in the way that all of his fans are kind of like in their own subcategories, but at the end of the day they're all kind of come together because they love the artist. But that's what you want to see in an artist. That's why Che's grown so much, because he has garnered in so many different fan bases from so many different parts of the underground, to where a vast majority of people who may not like a specific sound of his can still say that they love Che because they love the project that brought them into the fan base to begin with. And that's a great and amazing thing to see for artists. And the fact that Che's done that and he ignored everyone saying that, oh, keep the sound, keep the sound, keep the sound, keep the sound, this is Che's prime sound, this is Che's prime sound, but instead Che didn't listen to those niggas, and he continued to adapt and continue to evolve and perfect his craft. And as you can see, it paid off for him. Now he's sitting at 1.1 million monthly listeners, and he's just stepping on next above all these other niggas in the industry right now. And I'm just giving him his flowers for that. Moving on from that, I kind of want to talk about each album. The thing that people say is that Che's recent drops are more like inspirations from other artists, but Che's always been inspired in every single album he's dropped except for Closed Captions. Closed Captions was 102% Che's unique own original sound, but Kruger was inspired, Say So Says was heavily inspired, and Rest in Bass was inspired. So looking back at these albums, you can't really say like each album is like biting another artist, because all the albums is just Che's unique twist on what's already in the media right now. And obviously for someone so young, and for like all of the younger artists right now, of course you can't expect these young people to not want to take inspiration from people that are above them and people that came before them. That's how every artist made their craft, because they took inspiration from the people leading the industry before they were even thinking about being in the industry. But for Kruger, I loved Kruger a lot. Kruger wasn't the first album I listened to. Kruger was like the third album I listened to. Say So Says was the album that did get me into Che. Holy New Gen, yeah, whatever. We had songs like Batman. Batman's my favorite song off of Kruger, which is a surprise. Most people's favorite song is Say So, but no, my favorite song in Kruger is Batman. I love the way he uses his voice to kind of project and emphasize certain undertones on the album, because in other albums he uses his voice to project and highlight things that are already being said, but in Kruger he uses his voice to highlight undertones and things that might have slipped under the viewer's radar or the listener's radar while they're listening to this song. Closed Captions, you can really see where that was when Che started becoming like a certified, like a real artist in the industry, because Kruger, he viewed it more as a mixtape more than an album, but Closed Captions, you had Che going to the smallest venues, but he was still like screaming his heart out and like just performing his heart out at these venues that had like 500 people max inside of it, to now performing Hellraiser at a Rolling Loud with thousands of people in front of him. But even then, that same like Che performing never changed. He still had the same energy in him when he dropped Closed Captions, and the energy he came in with Closed Captions was really captivating. That's what got a lot of people into Che, because he dropped Soul. Soul was like that song that niggas heard, like, wait, this nigga's not that bad, and made him really dig into his discography and understand that Che's actually a really good artist if you sit there and listen and put the time in to understand what he's saying. Moving on from Closed Captions, we do have Say So Says. in my opinion, his best album, just because Say So Says was just, it had so much thought behind it. Each song and everything he said in the album had so much thought behind it. And if you really sit there and take time, I can make a whole separate video about this, but if you take time and really break down and analyze the entire album of Say So Says, it tells a beautiful story that can be taken in so many different ways and has so many different perspectives from the music industry tied into one thing behind a Crystal Castles-esque kind of EDM song with Che's rapping behind it, of course. And that album really solidified Che to where he is now, because that album is still in a lot of people's top 5 albums of all time, which is a little crazy for an underground album, but for people who really understand what the album is meant to be, it's not that crazy to see why people who put it in their top 5 have it in their top 5, because all of the themes and all of the subtleness with Say So Says provides such a grand overarching narrative that people just goes by. It just goes by everyone's heads, and I don't understand why, because it's so it's not in your face, but the second you listen to the album more than 3 times, it starts to become obvious where he was going with the album, at least in my opinion. Moving on from that, we had Rest in Bass. Rest in Bass is his most controversial album, obviously, but that doesn't mean it's bad, because people listen to 3 songs and they're like, oh, he's just biting Cardi, when the Cardi influence barely shows in those songs, and every other song he raps and flows effortlessly on the beat, talking about some on Mannequin, oh, when the beat's good but Che starts rapping. Che was effortlessly flowing on the beat if people just took the time to sit and listen to what he actually had to say, instead of ignoring the actual lyrics and just listening to the beat like, oh, it's too loud, it's the music, it's the beat, it's the beat, I can't hear what he's saying, he's mumble rapping. That's one thing I do hate. I hate when people say that it's just mumble rap, because just because you can't understand what the artist is saying doesn't mean it's mumble rap, because he obviously has millions of fans that can understand what he's saying, because people wouldn't listen to his music if they couldn't understand what he was saying. People wouldn't relate, and people wouldn't fuck with his music on the level that they do if they couldn't understand what he was saying. So to say that is just such it just doesn't make any sense, because why would you say that you don't understand something that's very, very real and has very real lyrics behind it? And all the songs in Rest in Bass is I fuck with the punk aesthetic. I fucked with the whole rollout. I fucked with the CCTV footage, of videos that he was dropping during the rollout. I fucked with the whole project, and when the project dropped, at first I was a little bit skeptical, I'm not gonna lie, but I gave it a month and I came back to it and I realized the kind of direction Che wanted to go for the sound specifically. And I can't wait to see him evolve more past this album, because people are so mad right now saying, oh, the underground is just rage slop, the underground is just rage slop. Rage has literally been bumping this year mostly. Yes, we have people like Ken Carson and other people starting to dabble in rage years before this, but 2025 was the year that everyone was hopping on the rage beat. So just because a beat is popular for 1 year, not even 1 full year, because it was really the latter half of the year, July and past is when the rage is the real thing. Before July, niggas were still hopping on plug and melodic beats. It was a good 7 months of rage, and niggas acted like this was the whole underground, for this has been only the thing that they've been hearing in the underground, when that's just not true. Rage and the really heavy 808 synth beats have been around but have been prominent for 7 months. It has not been that long. So to say the whole underground is rage slop, I can understand where they're coming from, because every artist is hopping on a rage beat. But for artists like Che and Osama-san, they've been snippeting and leaking these songs for way before rage was even a real big thing in the underground. And Che dropped this all the way back in July. Even when he dropped the project, ignoring the leaks and the snippets but leading up to it, when he dropped the official project, rage still wasn't even that big in the underground. Che was kind of bringing that amount of attention to it after he dropped Rest in Bass, which caused all the other artists below him to hop on that wave and make it sound like the whole underground is full of that rage music. But that's not really how it is. That's just what it's been for the past 7 months, which is not that long of a time if you really think about it, and how long it takes to develop and cultivate your own sound and develop just music in general, right? And I can see that after he drops Encore, which is still going to be a great album, he's probably going to evolve from this and then move on to the next sound, because if you listen to his leaks, which is where all of his experimenting happens, all of his leaks sound so vastly different to where it's just like, damn, you don't even know where he's gonna go next, because he's experimented with so many different types of sounds in the leaks to where he has a plethora of things to evolve and move on to next to really hone the next sound. So to just expect rest in bass forever from Che is just idiotic from the past 4 albums he's had. So I would just say give the man some time, give him time to really put his foot in the door in the sound that he's experimenting and using right now, and then allow him to walk through that door into the next sound so he can bless up his fans and maybe attract a whole new audience with the new sound he's going to be using next. So for people who are complaining about Che's usage of rage beats, I can see where you're coming from, but all I'm going to tell you is just give him time, because the more time you give him, the more you will see the full picture of where Che's going and the next song and the next type of music that he's going to be making with his future projects. And again, the dude is only 19. People are talking about, oh, prime Che was agenda. Prime Che is now. Che might not even be in his prime. Bro is only 19. He has so many years ahead of him to make more good music. So to say that this is Che's prime now is just undermining his youth and undermining all the time he has in the future to make music. I think that Che is not in his prime right now. I think that Che still has time to achieve a higher and more influential point in his career. And this is just like the beginning of it, you know. This is just the start of what's to come in years and years and years and years and years. Because thinking about it, this is exactly how people saw Cardi using everyone in the 2016 SoundCloud era. But look at where these niggas are now. So just give Che time. He's a 19-year-old who's already standing on top of the world. And to think about it, he still has more time to stand on top of the galaxy if you think about it, which might be glazed. But you can say the same thing for any artist coming up right now. For Osama, for Pretty, for Lucy Bedrock, for Slayer, for Skite, for Ayo Witty. All these artists are still fresh and they're still young. They have their whole lives ahead of them to advance even higher and elevate even higher in their careers. So to assume whatever they're doing right now is going to be permanent, it's just not wishful thinking and not the right way to be thinking about it, because obviously these artists are going to achieve way more and do way more in the future if you just wait and give it time. And even in the meantime, while you're waiting, take some time to sit and really process and understand where their artist is going with the music that they're dropping currently, instead of just hating on it and not taking the time to absorb and break down and digest what's actually out there right now. And I'm not gonna lie, that was just a little yap video about Che and his evolution in music. I just wanted to push this video out and, you know, talk about something different for once. You know, I want to make a lot more different videos, and hopefully this is gonna be in that right direction. But I'm gonna leave it at that. See y'all in the next one.
You are the piece of